So we're going to continue with part of the lesson. Now we're going to be covering the distance between 2 points on a real number line. So it's pretty basic, it's pretty simple. So these are the two formulas that you could use: the absolute value of a minus b, or the absolute value of b minus a. So let's say that they ask you to find the distance between, and that's what b/t stands, between -5 and 3. So let's go ahead and assign a value. We're going to say a is -5 and b is 3. Now, as you watch any of my videos, please pause. If I'm talking too fast, you get to pause the video, go ahead and write this in your spiral, your notebook, and then continue on and press play. So using the formula, we have the absolute value. We're going to substitute the value of a with -5 minus substituting the value of b, which is a -3. Well, -5 minus 3, since they're both negatives, then that becomes a -8. But we already talked about absolute value, and we said it's always going to be positive because of the distance. So the distance will be a +8. If we would have used b minus a, just to show you, it would have been 3 minus, but because the 5 is negative, we're going to put it in parentheses. Now please keep in mind that this here, a negative times a negative, becomes a positive. So we have 3 plus 5, which is an 8, and once again, the absolute value of 8 becomes an 8. So if you want to try one on your own, -12 and -3. So either one, whether you use the first one or the second one, so we're going to just say that a is -12 and b is a -3. So the first one says -12 minus the -3. So don't forget, because of that, we need to put the parentheses. So this becomes -12. That there becomes a +3. So this becomes the absolute value of a -9, which is just a +9. So the distance between those 2 points, it's 9 units. Now, the next part, one of the last things we're covering is simplifying algebraic expressions. Now, this is a little bit faster. It goes easier. So let me give you a couple of seconds to write that down. So when we simplify, we need to understand just a couple of things. We're looking for terms. When I look at this, before I simplify, the question is, how many terms do we have? So when we look at this, there is 4 terms. Now, which are your 4 terms? Well, it is your 7x, your -9y, your q, and your -3. Those are the 4 terms here. Then another vocabulary word that you need to know what it is a coefficient. Now, a coefficient is a number that is in front of a variable. So we have 2 coefficients, or maybe we could consider 3, and I'll go over that right now. 7 is the leading coefficient of 7x, and -9 is the leading coefficient of -9y. But we could also say 1 is the leading coefficient of q, because there is a 1 up there. So in case you wanted to say that, that's another one right there. Now, another little example about simplifying. When we're looking for at 3x plus 7y minus 5x, we need to look for like terms. Now, like terms means that they have something in common, whether it's a variable and an exponent, and then you simplify, you put them together. In this case, the two things that have something in common are the 3x and the negative 5x. So you should be able to combine these, add those. So what is 3x plus a negative 5? Different sign, so that becomes a negative 2x. The 7y doesn't combine with anything, so it just comes down. So just a little example here about simplifying. Let's say we had this problem. 6 parentheses 2x squared plus 4x, close parentheses, plus 10, open parentheses, 4x squared plus 3x, close parentheses. So we have two sets of parentheses. We have something in front of each one, so we need to distribute. So that's the first thing. What is 6 times 2x squared? 12x squared. What is 6 times 4x? 24x. What is 10 times 4x squared? That is a 40x squared. And what is a 10 times 3x? That is a 30x. Now, when I look at this, I still should be able to combine like terms. In this case, the 12x squared and the 40x squared have both the same variable and same exponent. So you should be able to combine those with each other. 12 plus 40, 52x squared. Now, when I look at the 24 and the 30, do they have a common variable? Yes, they do. So the 24x and the 30x become 54x. So that would be your final answer. So let's try this next one. Only because we have a negative number. So anytime you have a negative number outside, you still distribute, but you need to remember your rules. Negative 3 times the 4x becomes a negative 12x. A negative 3 times a negative 2y, because it's 2 negative, now becomes a positive 6y. And a negative 3 times 6, now that becomes a negative 18 plus 3x. So after you distribute, look to see if you could simplify. In this case, we could simplify the negative 12x and the 3x, which gives us a negative 9x. And everything else, we just bring it down. And there's one more last example. So let's simplify this one. So brackets, or it's like having another parenthesis. So we first need to work inside of this section. So what we need to do first is take care of that negative by distributing to the inside of the parentheses. So once I do that, nothing happens to the 8x, it comes right down. Nothing happens to that 2 for right now, so it comes down. Now, inside of those brackets, the only thing that happens right now, that 5 stays the same, but that negative times x, because it's positive, now becomes a negative x. And a negative times a negative 3 now becomes a positive 3. Now, I'm going to look inside of those brackets, and I'm going to see, can I combine anything? And by looking at it, I could see that 5 and 3 could be combined. So everything stays the same. The only thing is I'm working with the inside. That becomes 8 minus x. Once again, brackets are the same thing as a parenthesis. So now I have to see that I have to distribute those two. The 8x, I still haven't done anything to it. It comes down. 2 times 8 is 16. And 2 times the negative x is a negative 2x. So now I want to combine like terms. So the only terms that I can combine are the 8 and the 2x, giving me a 6x plus 16. So this is the end of this. I know the video is pretty long. Please watch it. Your first homework assignment is really copying. You're going to have a couple of problems. I'm going to send you a picture of what your problems are going to look like. And thank you for watching.